It's also Stats TY time. Game 1 of this best of 5 series kicks off. The bottom right hand side, our blue Protoss player is from, well, oh, I'm so sad, X-Splice Stats. I was about to say, it's just so normal to say Splice Stats. He was on the team for 3 years, and they have rebranded. Splice as a team is just no more. It's not like they're just like, screw StarCraft. They completely rebranded. Rip Splice. And obviously these guys were teammates on Splice. TY in the top left. TY is rumored to join Triumphant Song Gaming, which is a Chinese team who's going to be losing Hero. They won the first season of the China Team Championship, and they've run some other team events. They're going to be losing Hero this year because of military service, so they're going to be trying to pick up TY is the rumors. Stats is in a bit of a weirder spot because he's got military service soon. So Stats is unlikely to really get a team, or at least a long-term team. But especially the Chinese teams who are picking up a lot of players, they don't want to pick Stats up because, not that he's a bad player, he can't play in the offline finals because it's unlikely that he's going to be allowed to travel for the offline finals of the China Team Championship next year. So, as we set this up, game number 1 of our series here, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much. A couple more subs that came in and stuff that I missed, actually. And oh my god, some bits as well. I apologize. First of all, Morph Terran with the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much for that. Don't forget, you get these replays, TY Stats, if you're a stream subscriber, today. So make sure you get your hands on that. Also, Dover with the 2,000 bits. Thank you so much for your generosity. Sorry, that came in through the break, and I don't have alerts on or anything, so I missed it. I do apologize. Thank you so much, Doverwolf. And also Terminator with the 28-month resub. Always glad to catch you when I can. Thank you so much, Terminator, for dropping by and tuning into the stream today. And thank you so much for continuously subscribing day in and day out. Feels like we didn't have game sounds there for a moment, but it's just the probes being quite quiet. As our early game gets set to go, Stats did what he needed to do with the probe. He saw, okay, you are indeed expanding. TY plays completely blind. He plays a 2 Marine opener, no Reaper. So he's kind of just playing in a way that says, okay, you know what, if you do anything, I'm kind of safe at home because I've got 2 Marines. And then I'm going to go into the Hellion, which he'll probably run across the map and mostly try and get scouting information with. So let's see how that plays out. Because he doesn't go Reaper, the factory's a little bit faster, which means the first Hellion's a bit faster too. No, is he not going to scout? He might actually just save up the Hellions and go into multiple, and maybe even a Medivac and just go for like a Marine Hellion attack here early, or even just a Hellion drop because of, again, the faster factory. Hellions do come out that bit faster. Starport comes up a bit faster, so the Medivac's a bit faster, and it is going to be a Medivac. So TY looking aggressive in the early stages as we do see Stats. He's making his way up to the top side of the map here with a hallucinated Phoenix, looking to scout, looking to try and figure out what is going on in these early stages. So Hallucination heading up to the top side as the Marines will obviously not be in position to completely shut that down. It's a really good scout for Stats actually because he gets to see the Hellions moving out onto the map and the Marines. Now this Medivac's going to move along as TY gets out of supply block and his next Hellion will stop. So he's making even more Hellions actually. Starport will build a tech lab and that could obviously be for a Raven potentially. That or he goes into like a cloak and goes, you know, into some sort of harassment based game. These Marines coming with the Medivac as well. I mean, the wall-off here from Stats is good. There's no Reaper, which means you can't actually Reaper Grenade bop this Stalker away, which means you probably don't need a low-ground shield battery. He's going to try and drop Hellions in the main, but because he's walled off at the front, he can send the rest of the units to the main base. He's kind of okay here. These Marines are going to run forwards, and yeah, okay, the Stalkers make space, but the Hellions are in the main, so you can afford to bring that Stalker out the wall. You've got 2 more Stalkers warping in, and now, I mean, well, he's going to... I don't know what you do, because these Stalkers will just be chased by Marines all the way across the map. Marines will be able to hold the high ground at least, as the Hellions make a dive into the natural, so there's the opportunity found by TY. 3 probes so far, and let's see what else he does. He gets, 4 more. And so far, so good. Can he get this last couple of shots off? He does. Great hit by TY, able to sneak on in there, and that's 10 probes killed for the 3 Hellions and the 2 Marines which went down skirmishing with the Stalkers. It was all about being on the map and looking around and trying to find the damage, just looking for the right moment and looking for the right opportunity to actually dive on in there. Stalker's able to pick off a Marine, as you do see this army continuing up to the top side, and just going to see SCV setting up. Stimpack on the way out, a couple extra barracks as well. We do have our Nexus dropping down on 3rd base, so just Stats begin to expand after this, well, weaker economy setup now that he's taken some early game damage. This Hellion will go down as the Banshee of TY moves its way in towards the natural expansion. Stalkers in the main base are going to be taking some damage as well as these Marines continue forwards. A couple more SCVs continue to go down. A lot of Stalkers actually being picked up at the moment, so a lot of damage being done, and it's kind of damage on both sides though, right? You kill, 10 SCVs, but you lose 6 Stalkers in the process. So it's not damage for free, and obviously Stalkers are useful throughout the game, right? Especially when they have Blink. So to lose those Stalkers means that you kind of fully lost them, whereas when you lose the Hellions as the Terran player earlier, it's like, well, what are those Hellions going to do later in the game for me anyways? Not a lot. They're designed to be early game units, so I don't like this as much for stats. I feel like he loses a bit too much here, perhaps, as a few extra Stalkers do warp in, a couple extra gateways starting to build. You do see stuff like Simpac, Siege Tank, Engineering Bay all on the way up as well. So all of that coming through as Marines gathering up on the main base. More Stalkers will get set in the center of the map as well. And TY will, with the Banshee, go down to the bottom left-hand side and perhaps make his way through the bottom side of the map in towards some of these mineral lines. Sentry about to complete 5 gateways building in the main base, as TY is looking to try and obviously pick up some extra damage here. Go all the way across in towards the natural expansion, so try and do a bit more, but a couple extra sentries and a Stalker warping in, and you can just see that Banshee being kind of held between the bases currently. These Stalkers from stats just out to the front. We are going to see this bunker going to be salvaged here by TY. So bunker gets salvaged, another tank gets picked off, and TY continuing to head down the front at the moment to see what's going to happen. Stalker still pressing forwards then. What's up, Stanley New? Thank you so much for the new subscription. Really appreciate it. Get some love in the chat for a new subscriber. Thanks for supporting the stream. And there's our Marines and tanks coming down through the center. So Marine tank army continuing down to the bottom side here. Stalker's picking off a couple of SCVs. It's an SCV pull here from TY to just straight up try and end this game with this push. You're going to see Marines stimming in. Zealots fighting against this here. Tanks are firing. Zealots looks on to go down. The shield barrier's already drained. This third base is just given up. Problem is, there's not really much to deal with Marines at the moment. It's a very early SCV pull. I mean, this is even pre-combat shields and pre-+1, so the timing doesn't even really make sense from TY, but maybe he just feels like this is his opportunity. He's going to kill charge. And obviously, that puts stats in a really tough spot, because suddenly his Zealots are not useful. Oh my god, he replaces the Warlock from the Engineering Bay, because he knows the Zealots are going to be useless if they can't fight. Oh, well, the Zealots are choked up anyways behind the Forge, etc. I was going to see a couple of tanks continue to siege, and this is really, really troubling for stats. Supply blocks, so you can't actually warp in new units anyways. As our Marines just continue to pick their way through this. Obviously doesn't want to stim too much here, wants to be healthy and able to stim again for the fight. Now +1 and the combat shield is done, so these Marines are in a great spot here to fight. Actually, they get choked up on their own units a little bit in their own Engineering Bay, as we do see stats making the play forwards, but the Zealots are going to melt here. The +1 attack doing its job, and you can see there's only a few Immortals left. There's no army left for stats. TY will take game number 1 of this best of 5. So TY takes the first game of the best of 5 here. Jump into game number 2 of this. Let's see what happens. Is in the top left-hand side, our blue Protoss player. This is Stats. Taking on the red Terran in the bottom right. It is TY up 1-0 with that SCV pull, and it looks like it's going to be something a little bit more than that here in a moment or two as well. As the first SCV makes its way to the top side of the map, we're going to be seeing a bit of proxy play from TY this time around. Typically, TvP proxies are a single barracks, and then you just kind of make a rebuild the factory at home, and you go from there. It applies some pressure, keeps the gateway unit at home early, etc. However, there is potential for maybe some crazier stuff to happen as well. I feel like with this barracks position, it's just, what are the chances of realistically getting like a factory up, etc. And is it even good for a factory over there? It's a Reaper setup, right? Because the Reaper is able to jump up to this high ground here and get into that main base. So able to set that up, able to get that going, as we do see the Engineering Bay. Sorry, the barracks. Don't know why I said Engineering Bay. We've got that Engineering Bay and the Warlock on my mind there from the last game. That barracks coming up, the proxy. Second gas comes down. Again, this should just be factory at home. Obviously, stats already see something is going on. So you will, of course, say, okay, well, you know, the main thing for stats now is you can harass with the probe a little bit, but also you can stick around. You do want to see where the factory is. Is the factory at home, or is it not at home? Because that tells you a lot about what's going to happen next in this game, which is obviously potentially a little bit frustrating. So, just going to see the first Reaper is on its way out. It's halfway done here currently. As we're going to be seeing the Nexus starting on the natural as well, so we do have an expansion starting as stats. Invest into the Zealot initially, and from the Zealot, the Stalker would be the typical go-to to help chase these Reapers down. Just waiting for that to start. Now you'll Chrono Boost it as the Reaper comes in. Sees the Zealot. At this point, you should try and micro. You've got a couple choices. You can try and micro and kill the Zealot. Some people like to do that. I don't really like it myself because I feel like it doesn't really achieve much. I feel like trying to get a Probe or two obviously does get damage done. As we're going to be seeing the Reaper hops back up to the high ground. And just going to be seeing the Zealot obviously continue to try and chase that Reaper down. So Reaper escapes down the bottom left. It's going to be double Reaper, and then probably the racks to lift off and go back home. Factory did come in on this bottom side, and again, that's the information Stats was looking for. And this probe is still here. There's nothing to kill it off, so why not? The Reaper's on their way back now, so maybe the probe will pay its final price. But yeah, the information he's gained here is invaluable, right? Because you know where the factory is, you know it's not full on proxy, and it completely changes how you would have responded to this if it had been no factory in this main base. Probe goes down, and the two Reapers together will drop down to the low ground. Command Center building up on this natural. Currently about halfway done as our Stalkers of Stats moving into the center of the map as well. So Stalkers moving forwards here, a couple of Reapers going in too. That's going to be a grenade to push the first Stalker back. Another grenade as well. Decent damage so far by TY onto the Stalkers. Well, obviously the Reaper's a little bit hurt and beat up also. He's actually building Hellions off a reactor rather than like a Cyclone, which is kind of the usual go-to. So that might be a little bit problematic as we do see the couple of Hellions coming forwards here and the Stalkers being chased away right from the start. There goes one Hellion, and here goes another one taking a lot of damage too. The Zealot's still pressing forwards, and we do have the Stalker going to be picked off. So the Stalker will go down. This Zealot continue to take some damage. Two Reapers out into the center of the map is going to pick off a probe, and the Hellions continue to come over. They're going to go for a Zealot as well. So they're going to be able to pick this Zealot off, and just going to see this Stalker recalling back towards the upper left-hand side. So Stalker recalls back home. Stats going to go hanging around the left-hand side with the Stalker too. In the end, the Hellions actually kind of work out, right? You lose a couple of Hellions, but you kill a couple of Stalkers, and don't think you're upset about that. It's going to be a Cloak Banshee follow-up. Robo Facility not on the way yet from Stats, so that is a little bit concerning. See the Reaper pushed away. Stalker's able to get some damage done on the Reaper. Cloak on the way up on that Banshee. As we do see the Cloak will obviously have so much harassing potential. Robo Facility just started, and there is currently no shield battery. This Reaper Scout's actually really nice because A, it's going to say there's no shield batteries in either main or natural, so it tells Stats he can tells TY he can go into either of these bases. It pulls Stalkers out of position, and I believe he saw the Robo build time, so he knows how far away the Robo is, so he knows exactly when he wants to get in with the Banshee and what his kind of timing is here. Stats has no defense, and he's going to lose 10 plus workers. This is already 3 workers, right? And there goes 4. The probes are literally just running. Actually, they're running in towards Hellions. There's Hellions over here. If TY realizes he's got Hellions, he can go and kill all these probes. Probes, you went the wrong way, buddies. Oh my god, even just getting these probes low. Now the Banshee can one-shot them, so it kills them even faster. Oh my god, what an actual disaster as TY hits the jackpot. And Stats is having a complete disaster. TY, WESG champion himself, is looking good to maybe qualify. These guys are getting started really quickly, but I do have to run ad breaks. I do apologize for missing just the first minute of the game, as it is Stats at Blue Protoss bottom right. It's just Probe scouting the Red Terran top left TY. As we get into game number 3 now, let's see what's going to happen. If Stats loses, is he out? Yes, he'll be done. He will not be in any part of WSG this year. Stats just not having a great couple of games at the moment. Honestly, I don't even know what to say. First game was First game was like a good SCV pull, you know, stats not quite ready, was positioned badly. Game 2, he just kind of dies to the Cloak Banshee as well, and I really hope he can put up a bit of a fight going into Game 3 and so on now. Get a little bit of something going. Get a little bit of something moving. As we do have the Nexus just coming in. Going to be finishing up in a few moments' time. Man, I was really thinking this was going to be like a real epic series. I was like, oh, this is going to be so good. We're going to have some great games. People are going to be really hyped. And right now, it's just TY rolling stats. Remember that these guys have obviously a history. Obviously, both on Splice. I mean, you also got to remember they played in the Katowice Grand Finals. TY, WESG champion from 2016, the first year of WESG. And he then just didn't really perform in the next couple of years, didn't make it back to the event since. As Reaper comes down the bottom right, a couple of Adepts just getting set up. You have a couple of Adepts just moving away on the orbital scan. A little bit of damage done here and there. Cyclone is on its way up on the factory, and it's going to be the barracks swapping over to that tech lab now. The factory going to move over to tech lab 2. Blink on the way up on the main base. We do see the Reaper, a couple of Adepts moving around. Mule SCV is dropping down into this here as our Blink upgrade continues to Corona Boost, so getting that set up and rolling, blinking that up. As we do have the couple extra Stalkers currently warping in as well, so just getting all of this set to roll. And as we do have the Reaper heading down to the lower right-hand side, let's see what else is going to happen. A couple of Adepts moving out and just continue to see what else is going to go on. Juicy Blink is about to finish up here. Combat Shields on its way, so it's going to be an aggressive push out of TY where he's looking to push with the Combat Shields and push early and hard. He's even getting a Viking first, and then I wonder if he goes Medevac or Liberator. I think both of them are actually pretty decent in this scenario, actually. I wouldn't say one is necessarily too much crazy better than the other. Siege Tank about to pop up in a moment or two. And there is again our Forge just coming up towards completion as well here shortly as our Observer goes toward the upper left-hand side. This Marine of TY will make its way into the third base. Start nibbling its way through this Nexus as we do see the Stalkers continue to the upper left. There's Bioforce of TY pressing forwards, and Observer is obviously keeping a little bit of an eye on that right away. So Stats knows this attack is coming. He's doing the right sort of thing with this Stalker play, keeping this active, keeping this busy. Combat Shields is starting up from TY over here as we do see our Stalkers. Well, again, I mean, he loses a Stalker here, but he's already picked off a Marauder and 3 Marines, right? So he really is slowing down the power of this attack. Let's see, tanks will siege up now. The siege tanks obviously make this a lot more difficult because they really do control the zone a lot better. Love this. This tank stays to fight, puts some damage out, and then sieges up further forwards because he doesn't want to siege them both back here. He wants to already be moving forwards towards this Nexus as soon as possible. The Adept's going to commit into this here. The tanks have to target fire Stalkers, otherwise the friendly fire would have gone down quite heavily. That Immortal is so lucky there wasn't vision there because it would have lost its barrier and its shields to that siege tank shot. That would have been a shame. Stalkers blink in, Marines and Marauders are, well, trying to make their way back. But he actually has another tank. The siege up tank is the important part here because with the tank siege, you get so much damage done in Stats. Loses a lot of units. I don't think TY still wants to keep on pushing because reinforcements will clean this out. But it's a good fight for TY, all things considered. It's tough though because he can't get away. Blink Stalkers have so much mobility. So TY is basically forced to turn and fight once again. Otherwise, he's just going to get nothing out of these units. So Stats doing a really good job of trying to maximize this. He is losing quite a lot of Stalkers. I really feel like TY can't be upset with how many Stalkers he's been able to kill here. Even at the end here, another Stalker misses the blink. Stats is just a bit off kind of... It's not really just kind of the Stats we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing the Stats dominate and look amazing and come in and just be really, really strong and powerful. And this is a stats that's kind of showing up and not really looking great at all. You know, it's stats trying to show it up and making micro mistakes. There's no reason he should have lost that many Stalkers. As you see a couple of observers heading up to the top left-hand side. Missile turret on the way down in the front as we do see the third CC. And over to the side and a couple of Stalkers up the right. It's going to be seeing the Stalkers continue to move around a little bit. +1 armor, +1 attack on the way in on the forges. War Prism continuing out here is going to be about halfway done. Will be completing shortly. The Stalkers still set out to the sides. Still pressing down here as he's still, I mean, he's setting up the third CC now, but obviously Stats did hold a third base for quite a long time here, so Stats' income is good. 16 workers up is a bit more of a gap than what you'd like to have as, you know, TY is posing the SCVs now. He kind of knows he wants to kind of end this soon. Well, I kind of like the start from Stats. He needs to try and get on those siege tanks, though, and the Immortals moving forward is okay. I like the start, but it actually went very bad very quickly. The Stalkers were around the back. They didn't really kill the tanks very fast because there's only 4 of them. This is the thing, if he kept more of those Stalkers alive earlier, he can get those siege tanks in like 1 or 2 volleys, and this goes way better for him. Instead, now Stats is in some trouble. He's losing Stalkers as the SCVs block them getting back into the natural. The problem is now you're sieged up in your natural, and how are you ever going to get rid of those siege tanks? Maybe a Prism, get the Immortals to the low ground and pick those tanks off. TY looks as though he's going to qualify through to the next stage of this Korean qualifier, which is going to be the closed qualifier happening through the next week. We'll be, I think, bringing you guys that on Tuesday. I'll be up and awake to cast some of that for you guys. Now, Stats just has absolutely nothing at all. Like, he just lost too many Stalkers when he should have been able to clean up the rest of that army for free earlier. He just didn't. I mean, this was just a bad series by Stats, I think. The first game, I could understand. The second game, I was like, well, you know, maybe a bit caught off guard. This was just bad play. He knew what was coming. He knew what was happening. He had chances to trade way better than he did. And at this level of play, you can't just let 5 to 10 Stalkers die that could have been saved by blinks. You absolutely cannot. He's going to see the Disruptor shot here cancelled. Doesn't even get that for himself as he tried to recall to his third base. It's not going to work. He's going to come in from the right-hand side. He's trying desperately to kill the tanks off. A few Zealots warping in amongst us. There's still SCVs. That's how badly Stats is doing in cleaning this up. There's still SCVs in the fight. And TY